On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, Remington introduces a new pistol, a Russian-marked 1911, naked Snapchat pictures, and presidential predictions. Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Marky and Freeze, and this is episode 45 of the John1911 Podcast. How's it going, Freeze?
Pretty good, pretty good.
That's good. We really haven't talked yet this morning. It is Friday, October 28th. So I guess the election is next week.
Is it next week or the week after?
Maybe it's the week.
Well, you know what? It's like a week and a few days. I think it's like the Tuesday after next.
Is it Tuesday after next? Okay.
Yeah. So basically a week.
So yeah. Lots to talk about. We had just talked for about 30 seconds before I hit record and we went live. And I made a comment to you, and I told you I knew more than you thought I did. And you laughed. Well, I'm going to just go ahead and go into it now. Yes, okay. I saw the photos of the booby-trapped Trump sign.
Dude, I saw that, and it's just like, that is so awesome. I wish I would have thought of it.
There's still time.
The truth is, no one in my neighborhood is going to vote for Hillary, so they don't have a problem with signs.
So here's what we're referring to. Somebody on the internet, they put a bunch of Trump signs out in front of their house, and they must live on a busy street, and so they've had issues with people running over. They'll just kind of swerve off the road. It's apparently a flat, grassy area, and they'll just run over their signs. Well, this person got smart, and he or she, who knows, took a, looked like a 2x4 or 1x, I don't know, like a 1x4.
No, it looked like it was like about a 6-inch wide piece of board that was about an inch thick, like a 1x6.
Yeah, 1x6.
Yeah, just a standard board, and they drove about 30 nails in each board. And they laid it on the ground in front of each sign.
Yeah, and basically punji sticked it. And there's tracks, and somebody had driven through this person's yard and knocked out all their signs. And then there was a photograph of two people on the side of the road real close to this person's house fixing a flat tire. And they were looking at the camera as they were being photographed.
Because I'm sure the person taking the photographs going, fuck you. Because I would be.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not the kind of guy that's known to celebrate victory in silence.
Oh no, I am the guy that will tell you so. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I saw that. And I was like, we've gone dark this week with just some stuff going on, and we're recording this podcast, and this will go up this afternoon, and we're going to start, publishing to Facebook and our social media again after 5:00 today. No, we haven't been crated off to a FEMA camp, not yet anyway, but.
It might be coming though.
Yeah, I'm tempted to put pictures of the person took of their Trump sign, their booby trap, and I was looking at that, and I haven't looked at booby trap laws in a while. Of course, it does vary state by state, and some states don't even have booby trap laws. But having a board with nails in it out in your yard I think that could have just been a random accident. I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know if booby trapping would qualify out there.
Okay, here's the question you have to ask. Let's just say hypothetically, for the sake of argument, putting nails in a board and putting them in front of your Trump signs is illegal. Well, the guy running off the road and running over your signs in your yard is violating, just off the top of my head, I know four laws right there.
Oh, yeah.
So the guy who's getting the flack because he ran over your Trump signs, man, is he really going to call the cops on you? I mean, maybe. But look, you may get cited for the quote-unquote booby trap or whatever infraction that would be. But Mr. Flat Tire guy is going to be having his day in court as well.
Oh, I'm off the top of my head, I'm up to 6 charges because
Yeah,
you're into moving violations, you're into failure to control or aggravated. Then you've got criminal trespass, you've got
vandalism.
Yeah, I mean, depending. Yeah. So people listening to this can't see the photographs. We'll probably post them on social media later today. But it is awesome. I'll tell you what. That is a good reason to maybe stock up on Trump signs just going forward in life, just to have some, because you're getting bored. Or the next election's coming along or whatever, and you just want to, set somebody up, put a Trump sign out with your 1x6 and your punji stick it. So,
well, come November 9th, there's going to be a lot of Trump signs to snatch up.
Yeah,
one way or the other.
One way or the other. So, we haven't. You know what? I'm so reticent to bring this up, I haven't looked into it too much. I don't even know if you've heard about it, Freeze. Did you hear that the Bundy guys were acquitted or they were found not guilty?
Yes. Yeah, I honestly, we went dark and I went dark as well. I just shut down. And I haven't been watching any news. I mean, I caught some, and I did actually hear about it, but I did not actually go into read any of the details on it. But yeah, I heard they were acquitted. Or I think all the guys out there, I think the Bundys were acquitted, but out of all the guys, not all of them were acquitted, but I think like 6 out of 8 of them or 8 out of 10 of them were.
Oh, really? So some people did get...
I think some people did get hammered, but I don't necessarily know what they got hammered on. I mean, it could have been, who knows what violation they could have got hammered on. It could have been something stupid like, littering.
Yeah, I mean, look, ideologically, I obviously am sympathetic to the Bundy's position because I believe government's out of control. Unaccountable bureaucrats and we're definitely, we have much more in common than we don't. I can't believe they got off because as well as I do that if you and I decided to load up, cross a state line into someplace we don't even live and set up shop on some federal reservation, regardless of what the status of its occupation is, dude, we would be in prison forever. And it's not like, we could be like, oh my God, I can't believe we got sentenced to jail for this. You know what I mean? I wonder if the Bundys are a lot like, they're turning into the, what's his name? Who's the guy?
I don't know. John Wayne Gacy? That's who's coming to my mind.
The guy that always seems to find a reason to get to interface with the police with a gun because he doesn't know, but he can't. He's like the cruise missile. The guy down there who shot Trayvon Martin.
Oh, Zimmerman.
Yeah, okay. Let's go on record now. Let's just do an over/under bet. What's the over/under that the Bundy family is going to go on with their lives, not put themselves in situations where they've got federal officers, shooting at them? What's the over/under? They're gonna live quiet lives, but for the grace of God, there goes I. Or do you think we're going to hear from them again?
Okay. Yeah. The question you need to ask is how long is it going to be before one of the Bundys is killed? It's not going to be, are we going to hear from them again? Yeah, we're going to hear from them again because they're troublemakers. And I'm not hammering on the Bundys. I'm not hammering on their cause. But there's a certain point in time where you have to look at your good graces. Okay, there was a thing down in Texas. There was a thing up in, I don't know, Oregon or Washington. Or
I don't think they're in Utah. I think they're in Nevada. No, they're in Nevada because they're in what's his name, the Harry Reid's district.
Regardless, it doesn't matter. We've skirted the law. No one's dead. No one's in jail, and it's happened twice. Well,
no, they had a guy die. Remember the shootout when they were leaving? They got arrested. They were driving into town.
Yeah, but I was referring to the Bundys in general because that's where the not necessarily the Klan. I don't think any of the Bundys actually died.
No, it was one of their close buddies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the point is, how many times do you poke the bear before the bear just rips you to shreds? I mean, I'm just being real about it. I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I'm not even taking a side. I'm just saying you have to look at this logically. I mean, if I go up there, and basically with all my guns and loaded up with ammo and, a box full of dildos and sit there and say, we're taking over. Well, how many times do you have to do that before you have a Ruby Ridge or a Waco? Now,
Ruby Ridge is a good point. At the end of the day, look, at the end of the day, you can make the argument the ATF basically berated that guy to convince him to cut those shotgun barrels. But at the end of the day, he cut the shotgun barrels.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, there was nothing right about Ruby Ridge. But, and that includes Randy Weaver. At the end of the day, I mean, he might have been coerced and browbeat into it, but no one held a blowtorch to his foot either. He did cut barrels down. Now, was the whole situation over, just blown up? Yes, it was, and it was a bad deal. But, again, getting back to the Bundys, truthfully, the smart move would just be to hole up and count your good graces that, we can still have Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners together as a family without, setting a memorial chair there. And no one's in prison. So, but that's not going to happen. It's not, and I know it's not, and everyone listening knows it's not, because the next, especially if Hillary gets elected, they're going to have another issue, and they're going to show up with their friends and family and guns and ammo and Slim Jims and snack foods and all that crap. And we're going to be having a podcast talking about the next Ruby Ridge involving the Bundys.
Well, let's all be intellectually, honest here. I'm drinking coffee about the Bundys. Okay. They got a lot of publicity from their arguments with the Bureau of Land Management, down there in Nevada. And it was a very compelling case, an argument on their side. It really was very interesting. But they had, then Ammon Bundy, or the dad, a lot of people were trying to listen to what he had to say and wanted, maybe make him into some kind of leader in a movement. Then it came out that he, was, talking smack about black people, and that really kind of undercut his standing. And so the Bundys got a taste of publicity, and it was obvious when they went up to wherever this was, Oregon or Washington State, wherever they went, that they drove up there with, video cameras and computers, and their plan was to make this into a national crisis with publicity to try to ignite their quote movement and really kind of look. Let's be clear. The Bundys are turning into a business. They are turning into a brand, especially the young one. This is why they're doing this. And I wonder if they're going to back off of that and maybe just concentrate on BLM problems in Nevada that they're having, or are they going to count this as a win and maybe try to do this again or even up it even farther? I just, we're going to hear. Yeah, you're right. It's just like the guy in Florida. I just don't think I don't think they're going to help themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
how they're all not in federal prison, I don't know. I'd be real curious to see what the arguments were. I'll do a deep dive into it when we get time.
Well, here. You know who else tried to jumpstart the cause? Timothy McVeigh with the Oklahoma City bombing.
Yeah.
Oh, now, I mean, look, if we're going there and talk about, dude.
Well, look, hey, look at a T-shirt we sell, Harper's Ferry. John Brown.
He tried to jumpstart the cause too.
Yeah, and they hung him.
Yeah.
And a bunch of his co-conspirators. I mean, look, ultimately he was right. Again, just like John Brown, ultimately John Brown was right about slavery. People don't know Harper's Ferry and John Brown. That you can go to our website. We have a T-shirt about it. But, ultimately the Bundys are correct on a lot of this. But if they don't straighten up and fly, maybe not fly right, but fly smart, they are going to end up in the gallows too. Now, okay. I'm going to make an aside note here. It's something I told you in private, and I'm going to say it publicly here on the podcast, because this is what's going to happen since we're talking about this. Since we've started our social media, I only get death threats from 3 types of people. When you water it down to its basis level, I get death threats from dopers. It's always dopers. They may put themselves in the guise of something else. I'm a legalizing pot or whether it's whatever. But at the end of the day, it's dopers.
Sure.
You start getting into what they're really into. I get death threats from jihadis.
Yeah.
I get death threats from them, and I get death threats from I don't even call them like libertarians.
Yeah.
Seriously, I get death threats if you've ever sent something to me and like you're making all these accusations or whatever, and all these snide comments. And if I take it down to, if I have to put you in one of 3 categories, it's dopers, jihadis, or libertarian that are always threatening to kill me. And I'm going to get a bunch of them again because of this podcast.
Well,
it's not going to be jihadis.
Yeah. No. But for a while there, we were. I can't remember what was going on. This was a couple years ago. Remember how we used to get all the threats from the Latinos?
Yeah, and it was all.
What the hell was that about? Who would have figured that Latinos are like super anti-Semitic and racist?
Oh! You're talking about, we had discovered something on our podcast and our social media demographically. We had never. Maybe I'm sheltered. You'll hear arguments about maybe like the Koreans and the blacks don't get along in like L.A. or the Jews and the whatever. We were doing, I don't remember what it was, but we were covering or talking. It must have been something about Israel or something about something Jewish.
It must have been, because we were getting
hammered by like death threats and criticism. All these guys named Rodriguez and Lopez and Hernandez. It was, all these Hispanic guys.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's just like, who would have thought we would, I don't remember exactly what we were covering at the time, but, I remember us having the discussion. It's like, who would have thought that the Latinos wanted us killed? We understand the Palestinians,
Yeah,
it's like, It's like, really?
Yeah, I mean, like,
where did this come from?
Yeah, when did the Hispanics like start hating on the Jews?
But apparently, a lot of your Hispanic people are anti-Semitic as all hell. Now, if there's any Hispanic people listening to this that are not anti-Semitic, I apologize. But hey, I'm pulling this from the amount of death threats and hate mail we received.
Yeah, it was bizarre. It was bizarre.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I remember us just sitting there going, wow. Neither one of us had no freaking clue that we totally pissed all these Latinos off. It's just like they came out of nowhere.
You know what? I'm gonna. This gives me a chance to bring up. Let me find it. Do you remember a guy on the internet who shot himself in the leg?
Oh yeah, dude! I was thinking of him the other day. As a matter of
fact. Well, you know what? You must be reading my mind. His name's Tex Grubner. And
yeah, actually, you actually brought that image into my mind.
I had made a reference to Tex on a blog post. I can't remember even why. And for some reason, I was like, man, whatever happened to Tex Grubner? So I looked him up. And I was thinking, well, I wonder if he shot himself again.
Is he walking with a limp?
I'm not sure, but I did not know this. Tex Grubner, I guess his video got such airplay that he did an episode of Tosh.0. Do you know who Tosh.0 is?
Yeah, I never watch him, but yeah, I know who it is.
Well, they do a thing called a web redemption where, if you have some crazy ass video because you do something stupid, they'll fly you out to LA, I assume. You can come and sit down with Tosh and, shoot the shit and answer questions. Well, yeah. They flew Tex Grubner out for a web redemption, and I watched this thing, and these are all the same. The people pulled out of middle America, or they're not used, or not media savvy, or aren't used to kind of how some of this stuff works. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that because it could lead to something. It'll, whatever. But the reality is they're just using you really to get through a segment, and they're just going to make you look bad.
Well,
and
sure.
They didn't make Tex Grubner look great. And plus the Tosh.0 guy's pretty witty on his feet. And so, he, at one point, the Tosh.0 guy was like, how many guns do you have at home? And he's like, I'm not going to answer that. And he's like, where do you keep your guns? Oh, I'm not going to answer that. And, something else, well, I'm not going to answer that. And then he said, he goes, so just out of curiosity, if you were to pick a gun to finish yourself off with, would there be a gun that you would choose if you were going to, off
really?
yourself?
Hold on, no, wait. This interview?
This is the best part. Tex Grubner goes, Desert Eagle. And Tosh goes, yeah, America. And then Tex Grubner goes, well, actually, it's Israeli. And then he goes, how about them Jews? And literally Tosh.0 was sitting there like, oh, fuck. I don't know if this is going in a good direction or not.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Really?
Yeah. How about them, and it was just interesting because, the confluence of pop culture and gun technology had met a hippie and a gun guy, and you could tell neither one of them they were passing each other in the night because Tex Grubner's not anti-Jewish. He doesn't know anything about any of this stuff. Of course, the LA guy is real sensitive on this, and so Tex Grubner's like, yeah, Desert Eagle, how about them Jews, right? And of course, I'm just watching this going, this is a fucking train wreck. And I mean, you just never know where people are coming from with that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I'm picking up some feed. What's that noise? You got some feedback?
Yeah, that was an incoming call on my phone.
Okay,
I got the sound turned down, but it's vibrating.
Okay. Well, you know what? I guess we'll just go ahead and let's go ahead and just shit on everybody.
Okay, hold on a second. Before we go on to the next person we're going to shit on, I just want to bring up a point that when we post something on our social media and, and it's a hot topic and people, get a little heated and they start coming in there with all kinds of crazy stuff. I just want to say that when people start threatening us, and they ultimately do, and we ban them and so forth, no big deal. But just for anyone who happened, just stick this in the back of your mind that when you get angry and heated and you come in and start making comments about, bring it on, tough guy, or, shit like that, just remember two things. The first thing is, we're going to ban you if you do that, and then your problem goes away and we never have to think of you again. And the other thing is, again, we just got talking about all the death threats we get from all the different groups of people we get death threats from. Any person on our social media is like on the I'm afraid of you list is like so far down on that list, they don't even register.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Are there any Lee Enfield rifles that were made in 308?
You mean originally? I mean, yeah. I mean, the Indians.
You know what? Duh, I've got one here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one in the damn armory. I forgot.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not even... Dude, he got so many guns, we don't even know what the hell he got. The reason I'm asking... And that was actually built from the ground up as a 308.
Yeah, you threw me with the question. I'm like, oh, yeah, I thought it was like a trick question.
Well, the reason I'm asking is the Canadian government, they've got something called the Canadian Rangers, which, and I guess there's 5,000 of them. And I guess they are, I don't know, paramilitary, civil defense. There's parts of Canada that are so bumfuck Egypt out there up above the Arctic Circle that there's nobody up. You know what I mean? There's no cops. There's a problem, like a major problem, they have, like a militia. It's the Canadian Rangers. And they arm these guys with Lee Enfield rifles in 303. Well, they're replacing that with a is it a gun by Tika? But they're replacing those guns. But anyway, they're taking in those Enfield rifles, and there was talk that the Canadian government was going to destroy all these rifles. And I guess the current thinking is they're replacing them with a Seiko T3 from Colt Canada in 308.
Yeah, I heard that about a year ago or so. I heard something along those lines. I didn't hear that they were going to destroy the old Enfields, but I mean, honestly, it's Canada. It wouldn't surprise me in the least bit.
Oh, here we go. It turns out 9,500 of them will be transferred to Canadian Armed Forces cadet units, mostly as non-functional rifles to complement their entitlement of drill and training rifles. Entitlement. That's an interesting word. That's a really interesting word. That is not a place I expected to see that kind of word. But being Canadian, what the hell? So I guess they're gonna parade a lot of these guns. So I didn't know if there was gonna be a bunch of Enfields coming onto the market that might be desirable. So, no big deal. Are you there? You are not. I don't hear you if you're talking.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Well, the
you got something playing.
The problem with them put them on the surplus market is with the import laws that we currently have, I don't necessarily know if we can get things in from Canada.
Probably not.
Because it's a North American thing, and...
Oh, you mean NAFTA doesn't count for guns? Fuck me running.
Yeah, go figure. But, I don't... Honestly, you'd have to... You need to talk to one of these MilSerp guys that are more knowledgeable on it, because I know there was issues. There's a company up in Canada called Marstar. They've been around for years. And they do surplus, and I know a lot of surplus people buy shit from them, but I think there's an issue with firearms. And I know there's some kind of issue with Canada and the United States and, and all that stuff. And I could be wrong on this, but I don't think that they can surplus guns and we can bring it in from Canada. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't ship them out to a third country, ship them out to, I don't know, Montenegro and let them sit there for the allotted amount of time and then bring them in. But if they do go that route, it'd be years before you'd even see them turn up.
Yeah, I don't know how. I know that's especially with like the 922 stuff, and then the import ban stuff, and then 1968. All those laws are just getting to be completely out of control. But I'd seen, I was like, I didn't know if it was a mistake or not. Somebody was selling I guess a Lend-Lease Colt gun, 1911, that had been sent to Russia. Did any Russian guns ever come back into the country?
Very few.
Okay.
What happened is the very few Lend-Lease guns you'll see, like the 1911s.
Yeah, this was
I've seen an M3 grease gun. I've seen a couple of Thompsons, but honestly, those are all GI bringbacks.
like maybe picked them up in Germany or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or in the Eastern Europe before the Iron Curtain fell.
Yeah, trade. You see a Russian guy with a Thompson. Trade him something for his gun. Who knows how that shit happens? Try to beat a Russian in a vodka drinking contest. See if you win. That kind of stuff. No, I mean, I've seen examples of them, but they're very rare. They're very high dollar because there's so few of them. I mean, we send a shit ton over there, but none of them are allowed to come back.
Yeah, like M1 Garands, it's the same way. There's M1 Garands. Saudi Arabia's got hundreds of thousands of them. South Korea, Philippines.
There's millions of M1 Garands out there that are not allowed to come back. I mean, obviously Korea has just a boatload of them, but yeah, there's M1 Garands everywhere.
Yeah.
And none of them are allowed to come back in.
Yep.
There's 1911s, man. There's a ton of them out there. I'll tell you what, from a Russian collector point of view, I mean, like the gold crown standard of Russian firearms collecting is if you can find one of those break top Smith & Wesson, what is it, Smith & Wesson Model 3 that they made in 44 Russian and shipped over to the Soviet Union like prior to World War I.
Really? Those are the hardest thing to get?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, you can't bring them back in. They sent them, I don't know how many they sent over, but they sent a fair amount of them over there. But look, they're not hard because you can buy one chambered in 44 Russian because, they made them for, Russian contract, but they also sold them on the civilian market here in the U.S. But to get one that's Russian marked that was sent over to Russia
and then came back
and managed to come back, I mean.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
I mean, you know, from a Russian collector, you know, that is like, you know, that's like, oh crap, you know.
Well, I'd sent you pictures. I had seen, what is that? It's the last lever gun that basically that they made, and this was in is it in 54R?
Yeah, that's the 1896 Winchester. It's in yeah, they chambered in 54R. And
there's a dealer that I know that had one come in and even had a bayonet that matched the gun. And this gun was cherry. I guess it sat in somebody's house for 40 years.
Yeah, and again, they made them for the civilian market as well. But you know, to find one that was sent to Russia and then made its way back. I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah, I don't think this one had never made it to Russia. It was in too nice a condition. They wanted like $2,500 for it.
Well, you know what though, and that's really not a bad price. I mean,
with the bayonet, so
no, that's actually with the bayonet. That's a good price because that's about an $800 bayonet.
Yeah,
on the bayonet collectors market.
I sent you pictures. I'm sure you remember.
I do remember seeing it. Yeah, you know, it's a good price. You know, but. You know, that's one of those guns where you either have to be a Winchester collector or B, a Russian collector to pony up that kind of money. Because trust me, for that kind of money, you can buy a lot of Winchester lever guns.
Do they make that in a more American military caliber? That gun? They probably made a 30-06, didn't they?
I don't know. I bet if you looked it up, they probably did.
Because there was like a 405 Winchester, right? Isn't that originally what it was in?
Well,
right? Yeah, we didn't study. You knew there was a quiz you would have studied.
Yeah, you know, the question is, did they make it in 3040 Craig? Because when that gun was being made, 3040 Craig was the flavor of the day for the U.S. military.
You know what? I think I have seen him in 3040 on the internet. I've never seen one in person. So
you know, that's the question to ask because that gun's original manufacturer predates 30-06.
Aren't they still making that gun? Aren't they making that gun new now?
Actually, there's some. Yeah. Yes, well. It's not a repro because it's being newly manufactured, but they brought that particular model in that caliber back. I don't know if they still make it, but I know they did for a while, and it was just not too long ago.
Yeah, I've seen them. It's on my long-term acquire list, but it's just not, you know, I mean, if I got one, I mean, I don't need one in like 3030. I mean, I would get it in something that's more of a military caliber that we could support. You know, we don't have 30-30 in the armory at all. Not that I'm opposed to it, but you know what I mean. I mean, I'd want, you know, a more standard caliber for us. And, you know, standard being for what we actually have, not standard as in U.S. NATO standard. It could be in 54R. I mean, we could just, you know, call AIM and, you know, get a bunch of 54R ammo and be good to go. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem with old Winchester rifles is they really had a lot of antiquated, what's considered today antiquated calibers. And I mean, honestly, to pick up a Winchester, I would not want one in like 30 WCF, Winchester centerfire. I wouldn't want that. Because it's an oddball caliber for us.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm open to 3040 Krag. Because, you know, may eventually have to get one of those. But all right, let me change gears here. Something a little bit, I guess, off the police blotter. This is why I don't ride motorcycles anymore. This is a perfect example.
Okay.
No, but it's true. This is where things have changed. When you and I were young. And, you know, riding motorcycles, doing whatever. I rode well and, you know, well into adulthood. But, you know, the advent of the smartphone has made it so much more dangerous for people on two-wheeled vehicles, because it used to be that you would have to watch somebody crossing a double yellow line, or somebody pulling out in front of you, or someone opening up a door. You always had to drive defensively. You know what I mean? I mean, people that ride motorcycles know exactly what I'm talking about. But now you got some jackass who who's totally distracted by their phone. They'll kill you from behind. I mean, how often do we see, police reports where people run, at intersections, somebody bumps the car in front of them.
Yeah.
Or rams into the back of something. I mean, you do that to someone on a motorcycle, even if they're not moving, you flip them off that bike, their head hits the cement. They could be gone.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Texas A&M, 19-year-old student taking a topless selfie while driving slammed into the rear of a stopped police car and was arrested on Thursday. Miranda Rader also had an open bottle of wine in a cup holder. Classy. The accident on a Wednesday near the university, about 100 miles northwest of Houston, caused the airbag to deploy. Police said when the officer whose car had been hit approached Rader, she was trying to put on her blouse. I asked her why she was not dressed while driving, and she stated she was taking a Snapchat photo to send to her boyfriend while she was at a red light.
Yeah, a little premature on the red light.
Oh. So you know what? I remember you were telling me, you were like, dude, all the kids are on Snapchat. We got to get on Snapchat.
Yep. Yep.
Hey, she's 19.
Yeah.
That gets, it gets you. I was thinking about this. She's not an unattractive girl, but,
oh man, yeah, but.
Well, she's got the whole, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do it because it'll piss somebody off.
I mean,
there's a couple indicators here of like, oh yeah, she'll be a regular customer. She just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people don't realize that, you can see the future in people.
Yeah.
There was, there's all these women now in the shooting sports. You can just name. I don't want to name anybody in particular because I don't want them get them individually associated with what I'm about to say. But because we have no knowledge, so I don't want to, erroneously, possibly slander somebody. But there's like all these girls on some of these shooting teams. There's, some of these internet girls and YouTube girls, and they're in the shooting community, or they're trying, and you just wonder, because like I open up our email and we're getting death threats from dopers, jihadis, or libertarians, okay, or anarchists, basically, really.
Yeah.
Dopers, jihadis, and anarchists, or who I get, But if we were a couple chicks and running tactical T-shirts, I wonder how, if I open up the email, how many dick pics we'd get a day. I'm just curious. If I ever meet one of these girls, I'm going to be like, off the record, just be straight up honest with me. How many goddamn dick pics are you getting a month from crazy ass people on the internet?
Oh man, it wouldn't even shock me.
Oh, I bet you it's like the biggest open secret.
Yeah.
They hire these girls. They're talented. Some of them can actually shoot. Some of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. And most of them are attractive, or you haven't put it. They have commercial appeal. That's the way you say it. You don't call someone. Oh, you don't say she's cute. You say she's commercial.
Well, okay. When you go to a match, you'll see a fair amount of women there. Relatively speaking, there's a lot of women shooters out there.
Especially now, yeah.
Yeah. But this is what no one wants to talk about. If you go to a local match and say there's 10 women shooters, you're going to have one or two that are hot. You're going to have maybe 4, 5, or 6 of them that are, okay. You're going to have a couple of them, let's face it, man, they're just not attractive women. Now, here's the other reality that no one wants to talk about. You look at all the sponsored shooters, Glock, well, not SIG anymore, but, all these women out there that are shooting that have major firearm sponsorship. Mm-hmm. None of them are ugly. And you know what? You might have 10 ugly chicks out there that are 100 times better than them on the range, but they'll never get the big sponsorship. Because, let's face it, the gun manufacturers want to sell guns, and having a hot chick that they can put in their ads works.
Yeah, look, and that's the truth. I don't know. It's almost, we got to be careful here because I don't want to be unfair because, look, if there was a guy and he's on, we'll say SIG because SIG's defunct, so we can't really shit on them.
Yeah.
And, there's 10 people on SIG's shooting team. Not everybody on that team is going to be a blue flamer hot shit shooter. You do want the blue flamers, but if you're smart, you also want, CDE shooters, third, fourth tier shooters that maybe, work at the company or that can, also, because you don't, if they're segregating shooters by classifications or rankings, you're going to have a bunch of shooters that are never going to be interfacing with about 90% of the people at the competition. And it's not all, because at the end of the day, SIG shooting team is not about winning, it's about selling guns.
Yes.
And that's what people always don't understand. So, if I saw a guy that shot for SIG and I'm like, I'm better than that fucking guy. Am I being unfair? But would I normally say that because if I see a girl shooting for SIG and she sucks, I'm like, I'm better than her. Am I just singling her out because she happens to be a hot chick?
Well, no, of course you're better than her because she's a woman. No,
just add Gloria Steinem to the hit parade on my goddamn inbox.
No, you're correct. However, even if you look at say SIG has 3 female shooters and they're spread across the board as far as their skill and the classes they shoot, none of them are going to look like Gloria Steinem.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a business.
Commercially attractive and whatever. Of course, look, you can make the argument that, nobody will admit this because they don't think about it in the terms that I'm about to put it. But if you're not Jerry Mikulik, or Mikulek, however you say his name, Michulik, a lot of times there's a certain, you can have a criteria of what a female shooter is going to be like, for Team X. And if you're not a hot shit like Jerry, super crazy, Vogel or Michulik or Robbie Latham, there's also a list of what they're looking for too. There's either the whole tactical kind of look guy who's operator this or officer that, or you may get into, like a brand ambassador person who, you know what I mean? It's not people that make these teams. It's not as random as you would, as a lot of people, as a lot of people would think. Look, it's like there's people that get cut from professional football teams all the time. It's not because they're not qualified to be in the NFL. It's just that particular team has got 3 quarterbacks. They don't need any more. You know what I mean? So, I'm not trying to be unfair. I'm trying to get my way out of this goddamn thing without fucking sounding like fucking goddamn women coming after me now, too. But, look, we all know that there's women on these shooting teams. And I tell you, look, when I see a hot woman, especially a hot woman, at a match, and she can actually shoot, I notice it. Because I've seen a lot of hot women at matches, and it's not good.
Yeah, well,
I'm just leaving it at that.
It is what it is.
So naked. So anyway, apparently, you know what? So apparently, I tell you what, the most successful combination of a shooting team would be all women that are posting topless pictures on Snapchat.
Well,
that'll be team tactical T-shirts.
My question is the officer that she rear-ended. Is he now one of her Snapchat friends?
Dude, you know what? I mean, look. I mean, not to always kind of go back to the seriousness of it, but this is true. You know what I'm about to say is true. Cops would run across this kind of stuff, and some girl, whatever, or it could be a guy, depending on the situation, basically is so embarrassed and is in such denial and wants to get out of this, of having to admit what they were actually doing, they will make up charges against an officer and say the officer ripped her fucking top off. Or the officer assaulted her. She wasn't naked in the car.
It has been known to happen.
But now there's dash cam and body cams.
Well, yeah, it's kind of hard to make that claim when you're on Snapchat.
With naked pictures on Snapchat?
Yeah.
Apparently, look, we have a Snapchat account. I use it a little bit. I mean, I don't publish to it all the time. I need to kind of pick it up. But obviously, I don't understand goddamn Snapchat because I've never gotten topless. I don't even know there's any women that follow us on Snapchat. I don't even think there are. So, you know what? If you send me goddamn dick pics, you sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to talk... I assume you saw Megyn Kelly just totally get her butt kicked by Newt Gingrich.
Yeah. I actually was. Strangely enough, I finished up watching a show on Netflix, and when I turn Netflix on, my TV just tends to usually be on Fox anyway, and I actually watched the whole thing live. So.
Oh, dude, he crushed her.
Oh, yeah, he did. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Of course, everyone's saying that, he was a dick and that, but whatever.
Oh, he destroyed her.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
He actually, he destroyed her enough that it hurt her negotiating power on her contract. She's in the middle of negotiations right now for a contract. Deciding whether she's going to, they're trying to get her contract locked up before she goes out on her book tour.
Well, what Newt Gingrich did, for those that I can't imagine anyone listening didn't actually at least see the video, because it's making its rounds. But what he did is he played her gotcha game, because Megyn Kelly is big with the fucking gotcha game. I can't stand her.
That's true. Here's the thing. You have never liked Megyn Kelly. Even when she was popular. You never liked her.
Even before the election came up, I have never been a Megyn Kelly fan. I always thought she was a snarky bitch. And this is going back, several years ago as she was coming up through the ranks. Never been a fan of Megyn Kelly. And of course, she's really shown her true colors over the past, year. But basically he played her game. And, and everyone's just like, oh, yeah, Newt Gingrich, yeah, he was just rude and obnoxious. And it's like, he basically played her role. She's rude and obnoxious.
Donald Trump is a sexual predator, and he was like, he basically was calling her out on it. People that may not know, and he goes, and he starts talking about Bill Clinton and his entire record, the settlements, because Bill Clinton had to write a woman a check for $800,000 and got disbarred. Well, he was disbarred for something else, but
yes.
But he was like, say the words Bill Clinton sexual predator. I dare you. And she wouldn't say it.
No, she wouldn't say it.
And he just nailed her.
Yeah, and she's like, well, I didn't say he was a sexual predator. He said if he was a sexual predator. And it's like, well, when you're trying to walk back your statement, you're accenting the if he's a sexual predator. But if you listen to the video, it's like, sexual predator. I mean, it's like, yeah, she's a journalist. She knows how to say things to get her point across. You know what I mean? I mean, anyone who watched it knows where she was going with it, And yeah, I mean, basically he called her out on it and she couldn't do it.
So that is obviously because we're coming up on the election. I'm going to ask you this, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you think's going to win?
Well,
not if the election were held today, but like 10 days from it's is it how many days till the election?
About 10, I guess. Honestly, with the reports coming out of Florida right now, as of this morning,
what came out this morning?
Trump is getting a pretty decent lead against Hillary. A couple of days ago, I think he was 2 or 3 points ahead of her in the pollings in Florida. Now he's gaining ground. I mean, he's actually, beginning to like pull ahead of her a little bit, which is good news because the truth is, as you so eloquently point out every time we talk about it, he's got to freaking run the gambit on on certain states in order to even have a chance of winning. And the fact that it looks like he has a solid chance of winning in Florida really makes me feel good about Trump. Look, Trump's got a hard row to hoe here, I mean, he has to win Florida. He has to win Ohio. He has to win North Carolina. There's these states he has to win. If he loses any of them, he's done. I mean, it's the way it is. I mean, look, honestly, I can't give you a Trump or Hillary question on this. I mean, yeah, I still have to say, Hillary has the overall advantage, but I'm not willing to rule Trump out, especially after the positive polling results coming out of Florida.
I can't disagree. I mean, the reality is it's still, it looks like Trump's moving in the right direction. It looks like they're tightening up their game. It's opposed to not going in the right direction, but the advantage, unless there's a huge change, the advantage is, the advantage is obviously to Hillary Clinton, but in the deepest recesses of my irrational mind, I also hope that maybe Trump is hugely underpolling and nobody wants to admit they like the guy. And, they're talking like 1980 with 79-80 with Reagan and Carter.
I don't buy the 1980 Reagan Carter argument. I think that's people playing the wishful thinking game. Look, do I think there's underpolling with Donald Trump? Yes, I do. I firmly believe there's serious underpolling with Trump because everyone is against the man. So I think they are underpolling. The question you have to ask is, are they underpolling enough? And when I say underpolling enough to where it changes the whole parameter of Hillary's got the advantage, are they underpolling so much that Trump really has the advantage and no one knows it? Or are they just underpolling to make Hillary look a little better than she really is? That's the question. Yeah, I do think they're underpolling because even Fox News hates Donald Trump.
Oh, that's obvious, yeah.
Everyone hates Donald Trump, except for the fucking voters.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I was driving yesterday, and I went through a very wealthy neighborhood, and, I saw some Trump signs. This neighborhood's so wealthy, they generally don't put signs up, but there were some. But it was interesting, and I hadn't seen this before. There's a neighborhood next to it that is not poor by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely not like uber wealthy. And much smaller homes, smaller, properties. And I'm going down this road, and this was yesterday. I must have seen 40 Hillary Clinton signs on this one road. I mean, for probably, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile. And I was shocked at how many there were. Yeah. And I've never seen that much Hillary anything. And that tells me that they're obviously their ground game is they're getting their shit lined up, and they're trying to go cross the finish line because they're getting their signs out and getting their people out and making contact and whatever it is they're going to do. And it was a little disheartening. I'll be honest with you, I was like, God damn, that's a little disheartening.
Well, like if you drive around my neighborhood, it's a mix. Some houses have signs, some don't. But in my neighborhood, I know of, say let's just say in like like 2 square miles around my house, I know of only 2 houses that have Hillary signs. And of course, the one house has like 40 signs in their front yard. That's probably not 40, but I bet they have every bit of 15 Hillary signs in their yard.
Yeah.
Look, I personally don't put out signs for national figures. I have 2 signs in my front yard right now, and one is my local representative, and one is our local sheriff. County sheriff is running. I put out signs to support my local people. Sometimes one of our judges lives, around the corner from me, and I'll put his sign in my yard. But like as far as like presidential elections, I don't have a Trump sign. I didn't have a Romney or a McCain sign. I don't put, and it's not that I don't want people to know I support them. If you actually look at the 2 signs I have, you know who I'm going to vote for.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason I don't put out signs, the honest to God reason is I'm lazy. And if I put out 10 signs when I mow my grass, and I mow an acre of grass, so I got a freaking riding lawnmower, I got to stop, turn everything off, get off the lawnmower, pull the signs out, cut that area, then stop, turn off everything, get off the lawnmower, put the signs back up, and then continue my grass cutting. And I'm lazy.
Okay. I hadn't thought about that in terms of.
That's why I don't put out signs. So I put out a couple signs supporting my local people, and that's why I don't have 10 signs for 10 local people. I put out
only the local people that can determine your bail money.
Well, no, I've got a sign out there for Steve, and I know him personally. And then the sheriff.
Yeah, don't say any of their names.
Yeah, and the sheriff. And I don't know him personally, but I've met him a few times. He's a good guy. And then the judge, which I don't have a sign for the judge this year because he didn't give me one. but
he's got your vote. He's not going to spend the money on you.
Exactly. He knows I'm going to vote for him. He's a Republican. He's a good guy. He's a neighbor. We talk.
That's your boy? I got you.
Yeah, half a dozen times a year, we see each other and talk because, he just lives right around the corner. Of course, in my neighborhood, right around the corner is...
Yeah. Oh, let me go this way. Some of the, the neighborhood I drove through where I saw the 40 Hillary Kane signs.
Yeah.
I'm with herpes. I'm with her. Two of these houses would fit. Two of them would fit in your front lawn.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, my house from the nearest intersection is, 200 yards, maybe, to the nearest intersection. And there's only one house between me and the intersection, on my side of the road.
Yeah.
I live in I don't live in a rural area, but I live out in the township. I don't live in the city. We're not bunched up, there's acreage, around the property.
Sure.
And, so a neighbor to me, you're not going to step out on your back deck and go, "Hey, neighbor." Well, maybe if you had a megaphone or a bullhorn or something, but anyway, getting back to the point, I don't put a lot of yard signs up because I don't want to have to get off the tractor to move them.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Hey, I want to bring up you will definitely like this topic, and then we won't get too much longer because it's the first one back and we get nosebleeds here. Remington has a new pistol out. They have two new pistols out. Have you heard of this?
Well, maybe.
The Remington, we're not talking the R51. It's the Remington RP series. They have that. It's called the RP9, and then the RP45. And these guns honestly look like they're basically copies of the PPQ or the HK series. They're real similar. I'd say this gun looks like a PPQ to me, and which is basically almost
basically the VP9. Yeah.
Yeah, all that ergonomic look. But check this out.
Yes.
You will like this. This is really interesting. The RP9 striker fired gun, polymer, no thumb safety. It has ambi slide release, slide stops, pick rail, front and rear grasping grooves. I'm just looking at it. I don't know if it's back straps or any of that. I don't know if it's configurable. The RP9 holds, make it official here, 18+1, so 18 round magazine capacity. The RP45, grab your ass, Freeze, 15+1.
Really? Wow. That's impressive.
Tell me if that gun isn't crazy huge, if they're able to work out the ergonomics on it. That's not going to, basically if the gun's reliable, because when H&K comes out with the VP45, it'll be a 10 round gun.
Oh yeah, sure it will. That's just kind of the way it is.
And that's one of the downsides to 45s, especially these striker fire guns. Unless you want something that's so huge, you're stuck at, even how much the Glock 21 is 13+1? Yeah, 13+1. How much was your XD45?
12+1, I think.
Oh, it was that? I thought it was higher than that.
No, it really was not as high as you would think.
Huh.
That was a drawback. But, it's still, double of 1911, or close enough, So, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I like the fact that it's got a higher capacity magazine. And I'm going to assume that the grip panels, side panels are not interchangeable. I mean, it probably has an interchangeable backstrap because it's easy to do. It doesn't affect magazine capacity. But my thing is, if it's got that many rounds to it, I would imagine that the mag well's been hogged out and the grip panels are probably, the side grip panels are probably
pretty thin.
They're probably pretty thin and they're probably permanent. Whereas, and I'm guessing, I don't know, because I'm hearing about this for the first time from you, but if it doesn't have an interchangeable backstrap, then basically Remington dropped the fucking ball. Because it's easy to do.
It looks like the backstrap, it looks like there's a push pin, and like on the VP9, and so I bet you that backstrap drops. It looks like, because you can see a line too. It looks like it probably drops out. It also has there's no side panels as far as I can tell. I'm just looking at still pictures of it.
Yeah.
It also has a pretty for a striker fired brand new polymer handgun. It's got a pretty substantial beaver tail on it.
Good.
Wide beaver tail too.
What kind of sights does it have?
This gun's got lead sights on it. Let me I don't know if this is
So yet again, another gun that comes out that's better than a Glock.
Let me see here. Barrels 4.5 inches, stainless PVD finish. 5.5 to 7 pound single action striker fired trigger. Overall length 7.91 inches. Overall height 5.56. Overall width 1.27. I guess this is a 9mm. PVD finish. Weight is 26.4 ounces. It does not, I don't see, let me see if I can find a price. I don't think they've got a published, they've got to have a published price by now.
Oh, there's got to be an MSRP on it. I mean, it may not be what it's selling for, but there's got to be an MSRP on it somewhere.
No, I don't see one here. Yeah, it's not in front of me, so I don't, but that's the thing. I mean, the 45 guns, that's why, I mean, if I was going to carry a 45, like, I'm going to carry a 45 for whatever reason, I mean, today it's going to be a Glock 21. Because I don't want to walk around with 10 rounds. I mean, when I don't have, you know what I mean? I'm going from, and personally, that's something that the VP9, that's what pisses me off about that gun. I hate 15 rounds. Like, as big as that gun is, it should be 17.
I know. There's no reason why it couldn't have 17 or 18 rounds in it. I mean, there's no reason. There's plenty of room for it.
Because the FNS9 holds, I can't even remember. How much did that gun hold? Was that 19 rounds or 20 rounds?
Something like that.
Or maybe it's 18 plus 1 or 19 plus 1. I mean, it's like, damn. I mean, you shoot that gun, I mean, you feel like you're cheating. I mean, you're like, it's loaded on Sunday and shoot it all week. That's one thing I really liked about the FNS series guns, especially like the original ones with the shorter slide and the full-size grip. And that's where a lot of these companies, you know what, I'm looking at this gun. You know how, because we looked at the VP9, and you know how the VP9 has a lot of components behind the chamber, behind the barrel, and so it's kind of bigger on the rear end of the slide. And so actually the overall length of the barrel is a little bit shorter than compared to like the Glock. This gun's the same way.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a single action striker fired. Wonder if it's a true single action or if it's like a partial DASA because partially. Because I mean, just the outside, some of the footprints, I'd say this is going to be real similar to the H&K even internally. I mean, they may have a different style firing pin block in it or something, but
sure.
But just by how how much room is in the mechanics behind the barrel, and that's the one. Like I don't know if like H&K would ever chop their VP9, make a commercial full-size grip with a shorter barrel because their barrel is already short anyway. Those VP9s, where the Glock is they're a little bit, they're a little bit longer. So, I don't know. It's I tell you what.
I'll tell you what, if Remington, if this gun functions, is it on the market yet for sale, or is it just they going to introduce it like at this year's SHOT Show or something?
It's probably, you know what? I'm going to click here real quick.
Because if this thing's in the if it's in the $450, $500 price range, this thing will put a hurting on a lot of guns if it works.
Let me see. I'm trying to get too close to the microphone here. I'm actually searching. There's nothing on Gunbroker. Still typing. I think only the RP9 is out. Let me see here. We're getting pretty close to. We're getting pretty close to SHOT. It may. Well, I know Remington did a. They did a writers conference in West Virginia a few weeks ago because a guy I know was at it, and they showed up and had a bunch of these pistols.
Yeah.
So I mean they're definitely in the writers. You know what? I don't see. Let me do a price. There's someone's got to have an MSRP guess. Man, I'm still looking. Nobody. You know what that tells me? There is no MSRP information that I can see. That tells me this gun is probably going to come out at SHOT.
Actually, I think I just found something.
You think you got a price?
Well, this is coming off.
You don't say it because it's no, don't say it.
It's. Let's see. They're saying.
That's R51.
It says, as far as MSRP, that remains to be finalized, but it will be very close to the $500 mark, putting the street price near $450 in my estimation.
Holy smokes.
It says, I realize some information isn't complete, such as the news was leaked and the date of the announcement, blah, 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 blah.
No, it wasn't.
So, when was this article written?
Nothing about this gun's been leaked. It was
shame.
It was tightly controlled because I know where they had the big writers conference. So yeah, I mean it's so that tells me it's not going to be out. It won't be out till SHOT. They'll take order. I mean, some of the companies have been the last few years is they're releasing guns before SHOT because the thinking now is don't wait to SHOT to to introduce your stuff because it can take 30 days or 60 days for some of these gun magazines to get this stuff out. So they're releasing stuff in December or, late November. So everyone's got time to start buying them and shooting them and doing stories on them. And then it's the gun to see, and it's still new enough. A lot of people haven't seen it. So people go to Remington's booth and I want to see this new gun. All the dealers, and so you get more buzz at the show if you release it early. So this gun's probably about to come out.
Well, it says here, and this article was written 2 days ago, it says, I spoke with Remington this morning, and while they have not shipped to dealers yet, there is plenty of stock on hand at Remington, and the efforts to get them shipped will start quickly. Well, what's that mean, will start quickly? I mean, basically, if they're not going to ship them till after SHOT Show, it means basically they have the stocks ready to ship out, but they're waiting for whatever release date Remington decides.
Well, there's actually more information there than that if you read between the lines, because a lot of times people will show up at SHOT Show that will not be final production guns. They're still tweaking them, but if they've got inventory built up, this gun is set. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not vaporware, and it's not, because, you'd go to, for years, because I workshop for, you'd go, and people are like, well, is it going to have this and this and this? Well, we're still finalizing, X, Y, or Z, and then the gun comes out and it's some stuff's been deleted off of it, and this gun must be set. Well, here's the thing: they did this Remington event in West Virginia. They brought a fair amount of guns.
Well, the author of this article I'm reading actually had one. He's got pictures of him shooting.
Yeah.
So
that's that event. That's where he's at. He's at the event in West Virginia.
Yeah.
They all went there.
And so, anywho.
15 plus 1 on a 45 that may have the ergonomics of a VP9.
Well,
look at that beaver tail on it.
That's pretty impressive.
You know what? I'm looking at a picture. This is a picture from Remington. It's got ledge sights on it from the factory.
Oh, man, I'm telling you what. Man, if this thing comes out and it's in the 450 range.
Interchangeable back strap, small, medium, large.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it right here. It does have a pin in the back. Yeah,
it's got a pin. It kind of looks like if you were to take a M&P and a Walther PPQ and basically Frankenstein them together.
Kind of, yeah.
The receiver look, the slide is PPQ and the frame is
it's H.
It's H&K, but you know what? That beaver tail on it.
It's got you've got your button mag release, the way your rail ends on the front. It kind of has the M&P feel to it. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what. Man, I'd like to grab a hold of one of those, and man, I tell you what, I bet that feels good.
You want one? You want one in 45? If I can dig one up?
Yeah, if you can dig one up, pick me one up in 45. Because I've got the VP9 for 9mm. I wouldn't mind having a 45, especially with that kind of capacity.
Yeah,
man.
that's interesting.
15 plus 1, that's huge. I like it.
Look, I'll say this right now. If this gun had a mag release like the VP9, I prefer the paddle mag release. I think it's superior. I don't care what people on the internet say. It is.
I can manipulate that paddle magazine on the VP9 with just about any freaking finger on both hands.
You could literally be like a guy that's. Bob Dole could work that gun. With his messed up hand.
Pen, you mean with his pen hand?
Yeah. See, people don't know who Bob Dole is a former senator, Republican senator from Kansas, but Bob Dole had a major hand injury from a German grenade in Italy during World War II.
I'm Bob Dole. I got a pen.
Yeah.
No, he had a gimp arm with a gimp hand, and he used to just stick an ink pen in it, just so it. I don't know.
It looked like he was holding a pen all the time.
Yeah,
he could keep his fists clenched.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he could work this gun. This is interesting. If it had a paddle on it, that paddle is interesting gun. So anyway, and look, who would have thought we're going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, M&P, huh, or Remington.
I noticed it does not have ambi mag release on it though.
Yeah, because it's got the push button, so you got to flip it. Which
you know what though, that's not that big of a deal for me. If especially in 45, just for an SD gun. I'm not too worried about that. If I need to run it, if I need to run something fast, where I have to drop mags weak-handed, VP9's the way to go all day long for me.
Yeah, the issue is when you make that cross American style button mag release and you make that in a truly ambi magazine, unless you make that button so low profile, you end up having situations where you're dropping mags by accident because you're bumping it. And the biggest guns that are notorious for that are the FNS and the the FNX and the FNP pistols, because they've got a big oversized, cross push button mag release, but that what'll happen is that inboard button, if you're left or right handed, will ride up. You'll either hit it with your support hand, you'll hit it with a flashlight. If you're holstered up, if you lay on it, or if you're ground fighting, it'll depress that button, and all of a sudden you're looking down, and your gun doesn't have a freaking magazine in it. So I recommend that if you have one of those guns and you carry it for real, that ambi mag, you take a Dremel or some sandpaper and shave about 50% of that button down. It's still usable, but those buttons are too big for a lot of people. It causes problems, and that's why nobody does it, because they mess with it. Or every one of these companies we're gonna do a better M&P or a better striker gun than everybody else, and every one of them will do an ambi mag release. They don't do a paddle. They want to do a button. Then they play with it and they realize, this doesn't work. We'll just make it user switchable. That's why all these guns are like that, because in testing it sucks.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like the looks of it.
It's a good-looking gun, I think. I'm going to tell you what, it looks a lot like the VP9.
Yes, it do.
I mean, it's, American gun. I like the capacity.
Oh, man, I'm like real big on the capacity. I mean, 18 plus 1 on 9mm, 15 plus 1 on 45. Dude, how can you go wrong with those numbers?
You'll have to see how big it actually is. Interesting gun. Very interesting gun. So
yeah, I'd like to feel one. I'd like to feel the grip. The grip on it, because in order to, like I said, have that type of capacity, they had to hog them out. But I'd imagine those side panels are pretty thin.
Yeah. I just remember, you were like, oh man, Sig's got this new gun out, it's going to be awesome, and this and this and this and this. And you actually had found one in a gun store, and you were like, dude, that gun was terrible. Do you remember the model number? I did. The Sig P250.
Yeah, but I had that happen with a Beretta.
The Neo, the Beretta Neo, the 22. Man, I remember that.
Dude, I wanted one of those Neos so bad. It was just like everything I read on it. It was just like, man, this gun is badass for a little 22, and man, for a woman or a small person, that would be great, man. The first time I picked one up, man, I was there to buy it. And I picked that thing up and held it in my hand and went, oh, this gun is horrid. Man, my hand was just too big for it.
Yeah.
Man, the gun was not comfortable. It was just, man, it's like, no.
It kind of looked like one of those crazy Wolverine-looking 22s.
Yeah, I like the features of it. I like the things you could do with it. It was, man, on paper, it was awesome. But when I grabbed it for the first time, it was like, oh, sad me.
Sad panda. Okay.
Yeah, because, man, it was just, man, the gun just sucked. For me, in my hand. But I got a big hand.
Yeah.
And
we're not little guys over here.
No, and it was like, wow, this thing just blows. So actually, I bought a Browning Buckmark that day instead.
I remember.
But again, it's the same thing. You look at this gun looks phenomenal until you go to grab it. You never really know until you hold it in your hand. So, again, totally recommend that everyone, goes out and buys or before they buy something off the internet, to actually handle one first.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. This is the end of episode 45 of the John1911 Podcast. If you want to support this podcast, please consider visiting our T-shirt company. The website is tacticaltshirts.com. That's tactical, TSHIRTS.com. That is actually what keeps us open and keeps all this running. If you want to follow what we're doing regarding shooting guns and having fun and lifestyle and articles and news, go to our blog page. That's John1911.com, JOHN1911.com. special shout out to our audio engineer Mitch over at A&M Promotions, and it's all about. We appreciate your time, and it's all about shooting guns and having fun. And everybody have a good day.
See you later.